Welcome back, guys, to a new episode that we like to call the best songs from our favorite bands, maybe. Who knows what we're going to call it. But here we are talking about a certain band that is very near and very dear to our hearts there, Danny.
Oh, yeah, just like want to just show this thing here off. And
there we go.
That's a nice
what's
band.
that? It's a nice jumper. Here we are
so.
now. We are talking about Symphony X and, more importantly, the best songs in Symphony X's catalogue as to date. We are in 2019 currently. I'm sure they're going to release another couple of albums, hopefully so. If not, we will be in New Jersey to make sure that they do it. Now, who is Symphony X standing for our fans and family out there in the world?
Yeah, Symphony X from New Jersey, right? So America. They've been around for, I think, 94.
That's right.
They pretty much have nearly had like the same kind of five guys.
Yeah.
They're pretty much, Russell Allen, the new singer, came in just after the first album. So he's been part of like, I think, 8 of the 9 albums. And then Michael Romeo is still the same guy. The drummer,
Jason Russo.
He left for like 1 album and came back again.
Yep.
The bass player came after like 3, like Michael Leopold there.
Yeah.
And the other
Michael Pinella.
Yeah, he's just been star as well.
So there you go. It's a solid lineup, and what you get with a solid lineup is a bunch of solid albums. Not necessarily true, but in this case, it certainly is. And what we're going to do right now is talk about the best songs. Before we get into that, let's get an honorable mention, Danny, of some of the ones that I think we can talk about that missed out. There's a couple that here that fall out of the album because they come a little bit early in the catalog, and I think one of those songs for me is like Evolution from New Mythology Suites. There's also another track off that with The Absence of Light and also Fallen as well. Good songs, not quite strong enough to make the list for us, but again, we should just keep note that they were great songs. And it's all good stuff.
Well, it's funny because a lot of like true Symphony X fans who got into Symphony X early on with that album, Twilight of Olympus, don't like new Symphony X because Symphony X got a lot harder and a lot heavier. So a lot of these like true Symphony X fans like, oh, they don't love the albums. Like, oh, can you go back to the old school ways? Which the latest album, like Underworld, try to kind of take some of that into it, but a little bit.
Yeah, exactly right. I also want to say the song Nevermore because it just used the same name as one of my favorite bands, and it's a super awesome track that came off one of the latest albums as well. Underworld, great track, and really, really appreciate it. Danny, is there any track you want to mention before we get straight into this bad boy?
From that album?
Just in general, yeah.
Oh, they give them credit quite because they actually do a song called Looking Through the Hourglass, which is all about Alice in Wonderland or Alice Returning, whatever it is. And actually, it's quite a clever song, very whimsical, and takes you through all the different stages. Quite nice. That's like when they're probably closer to the Dream Theater sound, like images and words. So that's quite good. I mean, our top 10 songs pretty much covers what we think are the best. There's some other ones which probably could be in there. Like a lot of the ballads that are quite nice. I just prefer the heavier, rocky stuff than the ballads. So some ballads didn't make it, which probably should have.
This is also an amalgamation of both of our lists. We thought we'd actually bring them together and make sure we have a definitive list that people can check out. But like every good band that everyone has a strong affiliation to, your list is going to change, and so did ours. In fact, when we turn this thing off, we will probably scrap this list and make a new one. But I think these do have a very special place in our hearts, though, nevertheless, because they do have a reason why they're there in the top list. And with that, let's head up number 10, Danny, with In the Dragon's Den from Twilight of Olympus. This one managed to make it in somehow, and I don't know why at first, but listening back to it, I do remember some good memories, and it was one of the early albums that we did buy from the band.
Pretty much, I think it's the first album. I know the first album we heard was the Odyssey, but
that's
probably like the second album.
This is probably the second album we checked out,
And it's great. It's very fast, power medley song with a lot of energy. Russell Allen's vocals were there, not as strong as they are now, but they started. And again, this is a bit more of their not as heavy phase.
Russell Allen always had the range, but the depth he has now, especially the power he's got, is just unprecedented in the heavy metal community. But this is an important song to put in there because it was, like you said, it was one of the reasons what got us to really hook in the band. But it's got like a good energy about it, strong melodies, and the band's got a showcase of amazing ability in this track.
Yeah, it's pretty like short, sharp, shiny. So quite good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. If you're into the power medley style, this is definitely a track you need to check out. It's a very good blends of those elements of fast guitar work, technical ability, high range in the vocals, And I'm sure no testicles were blown because he's actually good at his stuff. No, I can't. Anyway, number 9, Danny. And on the list for number 9, we have A Fool's Paradise.
What's become of the world? The colors unfurl, feeling of black and haze. Condition to feel.
What has become of this world, Danny? I'm telling you right now, it's from 5, the New Mythology Suite. This track is an absolute blinder. What about this track gets you ready to take on the world?
Oh, it's funny. It's cool because it starts off like just these like cool like really heavy like riffing section.
The riff at the start is hell catchy, right? But then it doesn't take long for Russell Allen to come straight into this, like, and then he just beckons you. He just like pulls his hands out and grabs you in there, doesn't he?
Power, like high range, like energy, trying to, and the words are quite good as well. Like when it comes to the chorus, it's like they're talking about like all the suffering and angst and pain which gone in the well, and I watched it all for type thing. So the lyrics are quite meaningful.
Yeah, exactly. You got the pianist who's very, very creative and very brilliant when it comes to writing. Here, he's actually using his organ effects a lot. It's a really good effect. There's a very much a Queen style orchestral, vocal arrangement with those "Who said every long," which have become a staple of that band as well. Guitar work, the solos are really great. The way the chorus comes in at the end, where it's more chantier, but then Russell Allen to kick back into it, and a great breakdown at the end of the song. It just moves at a great pace, and the noticeable thing is the melody that's left throughout the whole entire thing with the riffs, the vocal lines, and everything. It's a tremendous song, and one that had to be there for us because it just has a very, like, every time the song comes on, every time I think of the album, this is the first song on the album I listen to.
Yeah.
So
you get straight into it. The rest of the album, some of the songs you really takes a while to get into, but this song's pretty much bang right there. There you go. Pre-chorus is great as well.
Great. Now, to number 8. And with number 8, we've got ourselves an absolute massive, big blockbuster of a track. Have you realized that this is probably their longest work to date? I don't think I can remember another track that has gone this long in the band's discography.
It's pretty a one-off thing, isn't it?
And with that, Danny,
24
what track are we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking Odyssey from the album The Odyssey.
Yeah.
So this is actually amazing. I haven't read the book. Apparently in our high school, it was a big book. Everybody read it. I think it was part of the curriculum.
It was tough because at school they had the old English style and then the English style, but I wish it came with the Symphony X style as well as the third page, because I would have much preferred to read that. This is the tale of Homer, I'm guessing, as he goes through trying to get back home. It's a little bit like another Disney movie that I can't think of right now, but I'm sure there's one of them out there.
Probably all the same.
Doesn't matter. What is it about this track that gets us going, Danny? Because there's a lot of this track to discuss, but let's talk about some of the highlights for us that made this get into the top 10.
Well, one is that it's just so fluid. It's like it doesn't feel like a lot of mini songs put into one song. It feels like it's telling the whole tale. Like you could literally put it to like a movie, and you could actually it'll fit it quite nicely. So you have, and everything is nicely orchestrated to like reflect the mood or the tone or the scene or the theme they're trying to go for, or his journey. So like he leaves his like country and it's all like nice and sweet and stuff, and it gets to all like war and battle like in the middle, and it gets really heavy and really probably the toughest riffs I've heard, especially at that time
in the band, as well. Exactly.
And at the end when he returns back, it's all like triumphant. And,
that's
like,
right. And how good is that at the end? You know.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, amazing. But some of those riffs that come around the 10-minute mark, that like That's right, exactly. You know exactly what's going on. Super, super awesome track and super amazing parts to it. And it's a reflection of incredibly good players playing a song that's probably out of their depth in the sense that they've never really done anything like that before. But it's brilliant. And the band really deserves credit for taking on such a beast. I know very few bands would do it. I know that Dream Theater have done it as well, but nothing for me matches like that what Symphony X did with their 20-minute epilogue or prologue / all logs.
I like we saw them live, and they're like, "I've got one more song. What song do you want here?" And everybody goes, the Odyssey! And Ross like, yeah, everybody always sells the Odyssey, but we're not playing the Odyssey. You're like, yeah, bastard.
Losers. Anyway, great track. Make sure you check out that album as well because it is got some good tracks on it as well. Nevertheless, we are going to move on to our next song, which is a ballad. And Danny, this one almost didn't make it because, like you said before to our fans, you were going for all the rockier, power metal-y, or just a more energetic song. Yeah. But I really strongly believe that this song deserves to be there. And you did see the light and agreed that When All Is Lost is a track that we should be talking about right now on the show.
Yeah, it was quite nice. It's funny because that album, that was, if you bought the single album, that was, I think, mid-track. And then if you bought the double album, it was the last track of the first CD.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a nice way to end the first CD because it's, again, very emotive, very soft, like piano works, and it builds up to its chorus and has a nice, like, interlude or instrumental section in the middle and then comes back into the chorus. And it's quite nice, quite poignant.
I believe nothing ever comes to light, chasing shadows in.
A lot of emotion through it.
Yeah, especially that chorus. What went wrong, Danny? Where have all the heroes gone?
Yeah. All the heroes gone. Yeah.
It's a great track. It's incredibly deep, emotional. And I think for most fans that aren't even into metal, they're going to really love the track. But I think even if you are, it's just one of their best ballads they've ever done to date. And for me, it probably is their best ballad that they've ever done to date. There was one off of Paradise Lost, which I thought was going to make there as well. But it did fall just a little short to this one.
Paradise Lost, off Paradise Lost. Yeah.
Thank you, Danny. There you go. Great track. Make sure you check it out and put the feels on. And make sure that you haven't broken up with your girlfriend or boyfriend that day because it will just get worse. Danny, we are at number 6 right now. And with number 6, we return to the... Oh, no, this is the first time we're visiting this. No,
second time.
Second time we're visiting this album. The Iconoclast album. And a song that almost didn't get heard. It was a bonus track. And for some reason, they decided it wasn't going to make the Iconoclast album. Now, to be honest, when I heard this track, I didn't think it belonged on the Iconoclast album. And they were smart enough not to put it on the original release because I think the album was finished. But they thought, you know what, for the fans out there who want something extra, we're going to give it to you. And this was one of those tracks, and boy howdy, what a track this one is then.
Yeah, it's amazing. Because I only bought the like single CD for this. We only get the 7 songs. And then that one got stolen of all things. So I just bought a double one because that's what they had, like a JB Hi-Fi.
That's right.
The double track came with 3 additional songs. There's 3 more songs on the Symphony X album. What? And this one is Light Up the Night.
Pushing the boundaries, reinvent a new reality, changing evolution.
Yep, Light Up the Night from the Iconoclast album. And what is this song to us? Well, I'll tell you right now, Danny, it is a heavy song. And it actually kind of reminds me of bands like Nevermore at times. It's got some of those semi-quaver grooves, especially right in the middle of the song. There's this awesome, like real punchy, heart heavy. The chorus though is I think where everyone puts their money into. And I think if you heard this chorus, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, man, this is like full. I mean, it's kind of heavy power metal, but like a lot of energy again and intensity.
I feel like this is the earlier stuff like Twilight Olympus and the V album, but on steroids. Like it's just got all those power metal-y like riffs is going, but they're just bigger and beefier.
Yeah.
And the performance here from Russell Allen is just through the roof. It is incredible, and the way he brings it home with the chorus like "Light Up the Night," it's just out of control.
Great. Yeah, I love this song, man.
Yeah,
it's just getting energy galore and passion and intensity. Oh, and great melodies. Fantastic song.
It is a great song. It is, and if you manage to get a chance to want to buy the Iconoclast album, make sure you do get the director's cut, the extra couple of tracks. Yeah. I don't think it's I think the way they did the tracks in the first release was better because it tells a great story. But hey, if you want some more is more, right? If Malmsteen's taught me anything, more is more. And for me, I'm glad I listened to his advice when it came to this album.
Machine Head more and more.
True that. But these guys are no Machine Head. They are far more because they're from Jersey. Number 5, Danny. We are halfway in our list, and number 5 is where it all started for the Super Metal Brothers with the Symphony X dance. When this album came out, at the time, we actually borrowed this album from a friend, and from there, we ended up adopting the album. We grew it up, raised it like one of our own, and here we are in love with it even more every single day. Danny, it is from the album we covered before, It is from the Odyssey album, but it's not the Odyssey. What is this one called?
It's the first track for the album. That's Inferno.
Unleash the Fire is the way you want to do, because you want to unleash your pants all over the place. This thing is a beast of a track, and it really starts from the very get-go. For a symphonic band, at times, you'd think you get the intro, but with this track, it hits you straight in the face with some sublime neoclassical guitar work from Michael Romeo.
Yeah.
Then the band comes in, they're hitting those hits on certain unusual beats, it's just kind of throwing you off your guard, building it up until you get your money riff, which is a Zakk Wylde harmonic,
Nice groove, yeah.
Beautiful grooves, beautiful work from the band here. But this is what a metal song's all about, man. Just brilliant stuff. You got your kick-ass guitar leads, you got your awesome riffs, your great musicianship, and obviously Russell Allen here delivers as well.
Of course, yeah, definitely right. I mean, that once he cuts into the verse, that strong groove riff is fantastic. And then again, goes back into the chorus, builds up all to the chorus. The chorus is a bit more like melodic, but more power, more motive based. And again, it's a fantastic song, man. Again, this was the first song I ever heard from Symphony X, and it got me hooked and pretty much straight away. And I'm glad, because it's given us like 15 years of joy from it. So
absolutely.
It's a great song.
This album here hooks you into the rest of the album, and I think a lot of the album gets dwarfed in this track, I think. But nevertheless, it's still a great album. Make sure you check it out. But this one here for us is definitely number 5 on the Super Mario Brothers top 10 Symphony X tracks.
Very good.
Number 4. This is a track here that's got us back into Symphony X, because I think we heard the Odyssey, and then obviously after that we kind of got Twilight of Olympus, and we were like, this wasn't exactly what we thought of the band when we got into it. Even when we bought Fire the Mythology Suite, we were still a little like, okay, this is not bad. It certainly is better than Twilight. But no, it wasn't near the Odyssey. Bear in mind, we did talk about tracks before that we felt on 5 were good tracks. But this album here, from Paradise Lost, this track here, what a way to start. Again, one of the early title tracks off the album. We are talking about Set the World on Fire, Danny. What track this is, but why do we love it so much?
Again, this is like Symphony X going up to the next level, because you're right. We got into the Odyssey. It was kind of rocking stuff in the early albums we got into, because that's what we had listened to, and they were a bit softer. But this then took it up to the next like level, taking more like symphonic, more aggressive, more like power to it, and yeah, it got us really excited. I remember the first time we heard it in the car, like, damn, this is really taken up a notch. I mean, the first track is just the instrumental, but then it cuts into this one. It's like, damn, again, all that great guitar work, all that aggression. They did a film clip for this one, also a bit more money going their way, which is good to hear. And again, goes back to like the strong power melody type vocal in the chorus.
Yeah, especially that end at the end with the Russell Allen, when he goes, that drops off the word fly, like, fly, and drops it right up. Then there's that big, tough down.
Godlike perfection, reflecting these eyes, reaching for my place with stars on high. Damn the betrayers, through twilight I fall, in long flaming I curse you.
Great track. The verses are very kick-ass, very like groovy stuff, you know, really, really good. It's a great track, and much more adrenaline pumping than I always remember. I'm like, oh man, that track's badass track. And on again, like, damn, that's right, it's really, really good. It's a great album, Paradise Lost, and this is a great track off of probably one of the best ones, but that album is no slouch. We will talk about that a little bit later, I guess, but here we are. So thank you, Paradise Lost, but move on to number 3. Danny, this album, the latest album they've released, has so many great tracks, and for a band that's so late into their discography, some people would have thought they might be slowing down, but for me, this album is almost better, maybe technically the best for some people in the whole entire discography.
Yeah, definitely right. This Underworld to the most latest release, and again, this combines pretty much all the elements of the last 6 or so albums. The first 2 or 3 albums probably not so much, but these ones here is doing like the heaviness of Iconoclast, the progressiveness of like Methodology Suite and Twilight,
Yeah.
a bit of groove and stuff, a bit of orchestration from Odyssey. So it's putting everything together into like an album. I guess they can say is Symphony X.
And one of the ways the best get into this album is from the feel good moments. And for me, one of the best feel good moments off this album is this track, and it's called Legend, Danny.
Steal away through the lands of the dead, where angels fear to tread, over mountains, the sky, and the sea. Feel the light bleeding from a new moon, escape from the hands of doom. Never thought I could change what will be. Ooh, break the chains of fear.
The way that I think really Russell Allen really needs to get the credit for just putting so much brightness and happiness into this track. Although he is doing it over the top with some brilliant playing from the bands, especially some of these riffs that Michael Romeo is producing. He's really setting up especially the verse. He's just giving like some amazing sections for Russell to fly over the top of him and just soar with it. And he does, it's a very powerful track. It's a very just a very feel good track as well. And it kind of throws me back to the times and listening to bands like Whitesnake and stuff, where it's like there's a lot of power and a lot of majesticness about it, but it's still kind of heavy,
Yeah, and it also has the full orchestration and parts were instrumental, so you can feel that voice well. But then it goes back into like the chorus, and it builds up to the final chorus, and the last is like the legend never dies. But then at the end, it's the legend never, and then stops. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta start the album again. This is wicked.
I know, yeah, it's great. This album's so great, but this track is just amazing, and I really love. And again, the note here is the keyboards as well. There's a lot of lovely playing with it, and just really working alongside Michael Romeo to further embellish those melodies and just make it even more grand in nature and more enjoyable. And this song is just enjoyable to listen to from the top to bottom, and it's just very kick-ass. Well, this shows the band how they go from something so heavy like Set the World on Fire. Then you got the ballads on the other side, and this is that in between where you just combine all of that together and just create something truly magical, man.
Yeah, no, it's a great song, and even that starting verse where it kicks into it, like oh wow, it's just really cool. And he cuts in that verse, stay away from the land of the dead.
All right,
oh, that's just so nice and bright and fantastic.
Great track, guys, and let's return with number 2 now with another track of the Underworld album, and this one here. As far as Legend goes, it's a fantastic track. But when I think of the best track of this album and one of the best songs in the Symphony X catalog, I'm thinking this track, Danny. And what is this track that we're talking about right now?
Yeah, so this is track 5, which is Kiss of Fire, and they set it up right after like the ballad of the album.
Yeah,
which I forget what the album was called. This is like, so after the nice soft ballad and all like emotion, blah blah. This kicks is just like probably the heaviest.
This is
song,
one of the darkest songs I think I've heard in the Symphony X catalog. It's almost, I wouldn't say death metal or black metal-y, but it has that dissonance and it's a very evil riff to hear. They do move through it though, and it gets more groovier and a more adrenaline pumping and badass. But this really is a setup. And every track, with this track, every single movement forward is all to set up the final chorus. And the reason I say that is because it all builds and builds and builds and builds. And then Russell Allen comes at it at the very end. And do you know what section I'm talking about, Danny?
Yeah, I know, but before that, they also have like a really cool headbanging, like rocking out groove, like heavy section.
That's right.
Probably the first time they've probably done like a full like breakdown section in the middle of the song. And
Right.
Again, that's brilliant. They do that so fantastically well as well there. But then it goes back into to the end to build up the song all over again to the last end when he does this whole full like powered falsetto ending, which is amazing. Yeah, it's like it's a ball.
It was from the depths arise.
Rise.
Rise.
And then breaks it. So that's amazing. That just built up with, like, all that energy.
It
Like,
is. You get two payoffs in that
Amazing.
song, but I really feel like that ending, the way Russell Allen brings this bad boy home, what a way to do it. But like you said, there's no slouch to the rest of the band here, particularly those riffs. And the way that the drumming is in this song is so heavy. I think there's even a blast beat that goes on quickly, which I've never really had the band do before. It all works. It's all fantastic. This track is a track of all tracks. You should definitely go out and buy the Underworld album to know what we're talking about. But it is number 2, which means there can be only one. There's a little bit of a hint there. So with number 1, our favorite track from Symphony X. And before we get into it, I think when we heard this album, we had a feeling that this would probably be one of the best albums we've ever heard in our lives. I think this album here is a masterpiece, and it is incredibly just got a lot of things going for it all the right ways. It's Symphony X at their best, and when I heard the album after this, I really thought, wow, these two albums here stand side by side as some of the best progressive metal that you're ever going to hear. Like, there's just no reason why these guys are second to anyone. Like, oh, you know, Dream Theater is the best metal bands. Like, no, these guys here are forging their own path. And this track here is, for me, the quintessential track that you guys should be checking out if you're a progressive metalhead.
Yeah, definitely. So this was the first track of their Iconoclast album, which is surprisingly called Iconoclast. So easy.
It starts off with a riff so technically proficient and evil sounding that bands that we've reviewed have actually ripped their riff off before. We talked about a band from Japan a couple of weeks ago, and they've taken this exact same riff and put it into a death metal scene. And these guys, obviously from Symphony X, use it in a progressive metal scene. And this is where it starts. It starts from an incredibly capturing line that's very dark and chromatic. And then it transitions. Then this whole 2 minutes intro is all about building up to get you that snipping before Russell Allen was to come in. But it's just one riff after one awesome riff after one awesome riff, and the payoff of the drums as well when he kicks into it, and then he does that on the 2 and the 4. It's just brilliant, and you really need to hear this track to know what I'm talking about. But
Rise of the one, hold the dark iconoclast, forging the codes of fear, with legions unsurpassed, shouting the word.
this is just the first 2 minutes, Danny. This track goes on and on and on, and it's just more awesome and more awesome and more awesome, Danny.
Yeah, well, it goes over 10 minutes for an opening track, which is quite surprising. You're right. The intro alone goes probably about 2 or so minutes.
Yeah.
Cuts and verse, which then is pretty much back to the stripped back rock hard section again, power vocals at top of it again. But then like the big sounding chorus, because the whole song's about fire off machines becoming all that.
We are strong, Danny.
We are strong. We will stand and fight.
Yeah.
Fight. Then again, verse and chorus. Then it goes back to the full instrumental section.
Yeah.
Then there's part of the instrumental section where you know something's happening, so it starts to change and slow it down. I think 8 minutes 40, then it just cuts back with Rise of Allen and goes victory or death. All that, and it just it's just more power, more intensity, more like, we are gonna kill
how
machines.
good is that verse, man? So yeah, it just goes off. It is absolutely phenomenal.
Then to the chorus with a key change, because everybody knows a key change in the chorus is a winner. And then just finish the song.
Stand up and fight. Yeah, you guys got to stand up and fight. And if you want to do that properly, check out this track. Check out this album. It is I think if you have a heavy metal catalog and you're like into metal, I recommend to add to your collection, 1, the Flesh God Apocalypse albums, and 2, the Symphony X albums. You know, they are just absolutely brilliant because these guys here are the pinnacle of progressive metal right now. They have not released a bad album in 10 years.
No. They're getting better and better.
They're getting better and better, and not slowed down once. And even their tracks, you can't even be like. I mean, like I said before, we'll definitely change this list in 10 years. But these are incredibly powerful tracks for us, and they have a standing in our lives and just like I said, having a laugh about them right now and just connecting over these songs is what the band's all about. And that's why we went to go see them in Sydney when they came to Australia, because that was amazing. One day, hopefully, hear more tracks than just the Underworld album, but only time will tell. And with that, that's the end of our show. I hope you guys enjoyed it so much. And if you haven't just managed to get this, just send it to Russell Allen and Michael Romeo. We'll like to be on the credits of the next album. I know they're doing some touring, I think, right now as we speak.
Yeah, they start touring again, which is good, because
which is very good.
They weren't sure for what they were going to do. Symphony X went a bit quiet for a bit, but now they're back touring. Potential new album, hopefully coming over the next couple of years, but who knows?
We'll see where it goes. Until then, thank you guys so much for joining us for this week's show. And if you guys want us to review a certain band or a certain album, let us know in the comment section. And with that, I'm Super Metal Brother Matt.
And I'm Super My Brother Dane.
We are the Super Metal Brothers. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll catch you next week.